Yes, so just to continue, let me call on our second presenter, Holden, Kenneth, Alcazaren, for understanding motherhood during COVID-19, experiences of mother teachers in business education.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. In our case, for our study entitled Understanding Motherhood during COVID-19, Experiences of Mother Teachers in Business Education. For context, um, all of my research collaborators are all teachers coming from an education background. So we thought of we have different colleagues and friends who are mother teachers, meaning they are mothers, they are professionally teachers. And then COVID-19 happened where there have been a shift towards distance education in terms of the classroom setup. So I think all of my three collaborators cannot be here because they are abroad already. We conceptualized this while they were in the Philippines. Well, because of circumstances, they went abroad after this moment. So, next one. So as a construct, motherhood has been influenced socially, culturally, politically, economically. Reflective of the long history of colonization and interaction with foreign countries, Filipino motherhood is greatly influenced and constrained by the hegemonic Western normative notions, and of course the feudal patriarchal logic of Catholicism. Filipino mothers are socially situated in a very collectivistic and tight-knit systems of bilateral kinship where reciprocal exchanges between parents and teachers and the notion of utang na loob form bonds of respect and obligation. As education persisted through a global pandemic, the Philippines and DepEd immediately proposed alternative solutions. To ensure learning continuity and distance learning is, of course, one of the most dominant practice delivery methods. Formal schooling had to relocate from schools to homes as the government imposed ECQ or Enhanced Community Quarantine. So in effect, the Philippine education system has to look into parents and guardians to provide this crucial task of continuing the learning of children at the comforts of their homes. So several research over the course of the pandemic have shown the discrepancies of lived experiences by gender in the workplace and in domestic settings. A growing volume of global evidence indicates that the increase in care work during the pandemic has fallen disproportionately on the shoulders of women. The lockdown has also exacerbated gender disparity with women, and especially those with children, spending more time in care activities than they did before. The issues among families, particularly mothers, in maintaining work-home balance as a consequence of pandemic calls for examining Filipino mothers' experiences, struggles, and needs during this global pandemic. The study provided a grounded description and explicit analysis of heavy roles of mother teachers during the pandemic. So a study on experiences and struggles of Filipino mother teachers yielded useful data that identified trends to inform the development of programs and course policies. Next slide, please. So just quick Arnielle, parents are widely acknowledged to play a crucial role in maximizing their children's potential for successful educational attainment. Where many research posits how their involvement, their practices, their interactions at home have implications for academic outcomes. Parental involvement is a critical factor that involves commitment and active participation of parents to the school and of course their children, which benefit not just the students but also the school. For instance, parental involvement have shown a great deal of positive effects on literacy, students' emotional well-being, language competency, cognitive competency, and of course problem-solving skills. As the world continues through the post-pandemic era, many educational researchers have tried to examine parental involvement in students' distance learning. I know that some of the schools already adopted hybrid learning. They are still maintaining that asynchronous classroom setup in their own schools to maximize the resources that they have invested during the distance learning. So the results presented how parents face different challenges through distance learning. such as unconducive learning conditions at home, providing attention to their children while studying, having limited network capacities, and understanding the course material taught online. Distance learning also demonstrated another issue, which may impede effective parental involvement for students. With the COVID-19 pandemic altering the ways people live and work, it has extensively affected women in unique gender-specific ways, particularly in their homes and work. The UN reported that women were burdened by an increase of unpaid care work, with children having their education at home. Now, this shift to distance learning during the pandemic has led to change in how educational institutions view the significance of parental involvement in student learning. The shift also exacerbated many gender-specific issues that negatively affect working women, particularly, of course, female kids. So, next one. So, in our study, in studying the enactment of mothers as teachers to their children, the current study drew from constructs of attachment theory. In using these theoretical underpinnings, the study was able to theorize mothers' responsibilities and views of teaching and learning as a caregiving mechanism that reflect one's definition of motherhood. So with the shift of remote learning, the study proposed that there are changes in the dynamics between mothers and their children as they perform two roles inside of their homes. Next slide. So the study aimed to analyze mother-teachers' experiences and performances, specifically aiming to understand the experiences and performances of mothers as teachers during the shift in their children's learning modality through narratives, and of course to analyze how mothers' narratives are reflective of their own constructed meaning of learning and teaching, as shaped their life histories. Next slide, please. So for our methodology, we use life history method, which is rooted and used in variety of feminist and cultural studies. It employed life history as a method to collect and analyze data related to understanding patterns of individuals' lived experiences and stories within their lives. So actually, we didn't only elicit their experiences during the global pandemic. We also elicited their experiences throughout their lives, how education molded their understanding of learning and children care. For data collection, we utilized semi-structured interviews situated in participant-approved safe and secure environment. Our interview questions elicited different significant events in the lives of the mother teachers that shape their understanding of learning and teaching, thereby influencing their ways of teaching content subjects to their children. The study composed of 9 Filipino mother teachers, each with at least one child in the basic education department. For the purpose of the study, the main criteria for selecting the participants are, of course, mother teachers. Next slide. So, just to give you the findings, the data analysis of the interviews yielded 3 core categories: mothers as guides in the decision to distance learning, as providers of supporting learning environment, and mothers as role models for learning. At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, mothers discussed the challenges that they encountered. They described that having to teach their children how to use their personal computers for their online classes. They reported guiding their children in creating personal emails and passwords for official communication. And also they described scheduling and organizing their children's learning based on the availability of their work from home setup. Aside from that, mothers have already altered their home environment to accommodate not just academic needs of their children, but also their mental and physical well-being. Mothers reported caring and supporting home environment. And lastly, being mothers and teachers by profession, they were able to perform effective pedagogical choices in assisting their children in answering modules and reviewing their course materials. They were able to help their children to focus on significant information that will be beneficial going forward with distance learning. Next, so here are some of the narratives from the participants. Here are guides in transition to distance learning. Next slide. Here are some of their supporting providers of supporting learning environment where they try to alter different daily routines. So may routine po sila to pattern what the students know about schooling. And then, of course, role models for learning. We also found out that mostly they try to pattern themselves with the significant teachers that have molded them. Yung tingin nilang these are best teachers, they try to emulate their strategies, their attitudes, their behavior, so that they can be as good as their model teachers as well. And then for the discussion, mother teachers involve themselves in their children's education in a variety of ways. As mother teachers, it was also revealed how their pedagogic choices during the pandemic were highly influenced by not just their experiences, but also their perception of what good instruction is. And as conclusion, so the findings revealed, of course, that they acted as guides, the mother teachers acted as guides and advocates of their children's learning through pandemic, and that they created opportunities and learning environments for their children to learn and grow. So we assert in our study that it's that taking a more parent-centric view of parent involvement in the school with the way we share responsibilities for the students. And with that, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Camille. Please stay there when we ask your reactor to join you. We have Professor Justine Sanoy of the UP Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts. So Prof. Justine is an assistant professor at the Department of Speech Communication and Theater Arts at Diliman. She earned her BA in English and Master of Arts in Communication. Her primary focus is on teaching subjects related to speech communication, and her research interests encompass rhetoric, intercultural communication, and English as a second language education. Hello, Prof. Can we hear from you?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much, Assistant Professor Holden. First, I would like to commend this study as this really sheds light on the extended role of mothers. Our mothers are our first teachers, Bianca, as they teach us basic things, right? Basic things that we should learn as humans, as citizens, and the like. However, during the pandemic, mothers even had to stretch their capabilities and journey with their children in formal education. Thus, knowing their experiences during this time can help us learn more of their strengths as mga ilaw ng tahanan. It is amazing how mothers have to think on how to employ their own pedagogies based on their learning experiences. This is one specific finding which I find really interesting. The creativity of mothers was really demonstrated. Some of them even use the stuffed toys na talagang mga anak, no, to demonstrate na ito ang mga animals, okay, something like that. And it's really an interesting finding. And it's like they're also learning what they're teaching. This actually reminds me of my cousin's wife who said that she would also review and study the lessons before even teaching their children. So sabihin niya, mag-review muna ako ng lesson ng mga anak ko para matulong ko sa kanila during the pandemic, right? So some mothers also wanted to make their children to have a different experience. Perhaps some of them, they weren't able to experience the same formal education. That's why they wanted to make it different for their children. Most of the mothers, if not all, are really not trained to be teachers, so they really had to adjust, and their adjustments, as mentioned in the narratives presented, did not really happen once. So basically, they went through series of adjustments, considering that they have other things to manage at home, or maybe if they're working moms, then they also had to manage that. Not to mention the complexities that technology had brought during the pandemic as well. I mean, just setting up the Zoom, the Google Meet, and the like for sure had added another layer of challenge. Another key finding that struck me as well was about how mothers created a conducive and supportive learning environment for their children. So I think that discovery was the silver lining of the pandemic in a way that some children were monitored by their parents. They were not only focused on their academics, and they also had the time to breathe, as some parents really made an effort to meet their mental and even physical needs, which is actually part of the result of the study. Overall, exploring these challenges not only sheds light on the depth of mothers' commitment to their children's education, but also emphasizes the need for recognizing and supporting the diverse roles they play. And by understanding the difficulties they encountered, we gain valuable insights into the strengths and capabilities that emerge during this really demanding period. So in conclusion, delving into the challenges faced by mothers as educators at home during the pandemic provides a richer understanding of their experiences. And that knowledge, based on the study, is instrumental in acknowledging and appreciating the multifaceted roles they undertook, contributing to a more comprehensive perspective on the resilience and adaptability in the face of unprecedented circumstances. So overall, this, when we say research, we don't really hear a lot of research about mothers. And I believe that this study only put a spotlight on mothers mothering in their homes through educating their children. So thank you for that study, Assistant Prof. Alcazaren.
Thank you, Prof. Sanoy, for that reaction closing the green. The pandemic, I don't think it needs to be the pandemic, but looking at approach, showing everyone how much the world depended on mothers. In fact, sana, huwag din kang matigil sa recognition, di ba? But um, the justice, yung gender justice when it comes to caregiver, it shouldn't be imposed on one of the first place. Alright. Thank you again for presenting our reactor. We would like now to move on to the next presenter. Ganun pa rin cheesy sa natin, I encourage you to, to take